For thousands of years, humanity has engaged in a sacred and mysterious act. In moments of desperation and in moments of gratitude, in the quiet of our rooms and in the grandeur of cathedrals, we have prayed. We have sent our hopes, our fears, and our desires out into the cosmos, seeking a connection with a higher power. Yet for many of us, this act, which promises so much, often feels like a one-way street. We treat prayer like a cosmic vending machine. We insert our coin of devotion, press the button for financial security or new opportunity, and then we wait, frustrated, when the product doesn't drop. Or we treat it like a cosmic complaint box, a monologue where we list all of our problems, all of our anxieties, all of our grievances, and then we say amen and walk away, feeling perhaps a little lighter for having vented. But with nothing fundamentally changed, we speak at God, but we rarely, if ever, truly talk with Him. And because of this, we are missing out on the single most powerful and life-altering conversation available to any human being. What if I told you that prayer was never meant to be a monologue? What if it was designed as a strategic dialogue, a divine board meeting, a creative session between you and the CEO of the universe? And what if Napoleon Hill, the most pragmatic scientist of success, discovered that this very conversation was the ultimate secret of the world's greatest achievers? The premise of this video is that there is a way to talk with God that fundamentally changes not just your circumstances, but your very identity. It is a conversation that has the power to take your weaknesses and transmute them into strength, to take your confusion and transform it into a clear purpose. This is the conversation that separates those who hope for a different life from those who actively create it. On this channel, we decode the practical mechanics behind these profound spiritual truths, using the scientific principles of Napoleon Hill as our guide. If you are ready to move beyond unanswered prayers and learn how to engage in the conversation that will truly change your life, then I invite you to join our community of creators by subscribing to the channel right now. The problem with our modern approach to prayer is that we are focused on the wrong outcome. We are trying to change God's mind or to convince Him to change our external world. But the purpose of a true conversation with God is not to change His mind. It is to allow Him to change ours. It is to align our own limited, fearful perspective with the infinite, powerful perspective of the Creator. The Bible is filled with stories of men and women whose lives were turned upside down, not by a lightning bolt from heaven, but by a single, pivotal conversation. But there is one story that stands above all others as the ultimate example of this transformative dialogue. It is the story of a flawed man, a deceiver, he who in a single night of desperate struggle engaged in a conversation so intense that he walked away the next morning as a completely different person, with a new name, a new character, and a new destiny. His name was Jacob, and his conversation at a place called Peniel is the blueprint for our own transformation. To understand how to have this life-changing conversation yourself, we must first dissect what happened on that fateful night. We must understand the nature of the dialogue that has the power to alter the very fabric of your being. Our journey to understand the power of divine conversation takes us to a riverbank in the dead of night. A man named Jacob is at his absolute breaking point. He is alone, terrified, and has just spent the entire night in a grueling physical struggle with a mysterious divine being. As the dawn approaches, the struggle reaches its climax. Exhausted and injured, Jacob clings to his opponent and makes a desperate demand. "I will not let you go unless you bless me." This is the cry of a man who is done with his old life, a man who is willing to fight through the darkness for a new dawn. But the response he receives is not the blessing itself. It is a simple, penetrating question. A question that cuts through all the struggle, all the fear, and all the ambition. The divine being looks at him and asks, "What is your name?" Let us pause here, because this is the single most important moment in any life-changing conversation. The being he was wrestling with obviously knew his name. The question was not for the benefit of the divine. It was for the benefit of Jacob. He was being forced to confront and to confess his own identity. To answer Jacob was not just to state a fact. It was to make a confession. The name Jacob meant the deceiver, the supplanter, the trickster. It was the name that defined his entire life up to that point. He had deceived his brother. He had tricked his father. His entire existence was built upon a foundation of cleverness, of scheming, of relying on his own wits to get what he wanted. To answer "my name is Jacob" was to admit out loud, "I am the deceiver. This is who I have been." It was an act of radical honesty and profound vulnerability, and here lies the secret to a conversation that truly changes your life. Before you can receive a new identity, you must be willing to honestly confess your old one. You cannot build a new future on a foundation of self-deception. A true talk with God is not about presenting a polished, perfect version of yourself. It is about showing up with complete, brutal honesty about your fears, your flaws, and your limitations. It is the willingness to answer the question, who are you really? This ancient story reveals a deep psychological law that Napoleon Hill himself understood. Hill taught that the first step toward any great success is a fearless and searching inventory of oneself. You must know your weaknesses before you can turn them into strengths. You must confront your own Jacob, your limiting beliefs, your fears, your habits of self-sabotage, before you can ever hope to become Israel. Only after Jacob makes his honest confession does the blessing come. And the blessing is not what he might have expected. It is not gold or livestock. The blessing is a new name. The divine being says, "Your name will no longer be Jacob, but Israel, because you have struggled with God and with humans and have overcome." He entered the conversation as the deceiver, and he left it as the one who struggles with God. His very identity was rewritten. The result of the dialogue was a promotion in character. He walked away from that conversation as a new man with a new destiny. This is the true purpose of talking with God. It is not to get things, it is to be changed. You enter the conversation with your problems, your fears, your Jacob identity. And through an honest dialogue, you emerge with a new name, a new identity, a new character that is now equipped to handle those very problems from a place of power. This ancient story of a name change reveals a deep psychological law that governs all personal transformation. But how does this process of conversation and identity shifting actually work within our own minds? To understand the science behind this divine dialogue, we must turn to the man who mapped the human mind's connection to the infinite, Napoleon Hill. The story of Jacob at Peniel is a profound spiritual blueprint for personal transformation. It shows that a true conversation with the divine is an exchange of identity. But what is the science behind this? How does this process actually work within the machinery of our own minds? To understand the engineering of this miracle, we must turn to the man who provided the schematics, Napoleon Hill. Hill, though he often used different language, described the very same process, not as a spiritual mystery, but as a repeatable psychological science. First, we must understand the two parties in this conversation. On one side, there is you with your finite conscious mind. On the other side is the source of all power and wisdom, which the Bible calls God, and which Napoleon Hill, in his pragmatic language, called infinite intelligence. Hill believed that this infinite intelligence was a vast reservoir of power that could be tapped into by any person who learned how to align their own mind with it. And what is the mechanism for this alignment? It is the principle of the mastermind. Hill taught that when two or more minds blend in a spirit of perfect harmony, a third, greater mind is created. The ultimate mastermind alliance, therefore, is the one you form between your own mind and infinite intelligence. The talk with God is the board meeting of this ultimate partnership. Now let's look at the dialogue itself through Hill's lens. When you enter this conversation and speak your desires, your fears, and your truths, you are practicing a powerful form of auto-suggestion. You are giving a direct, verbal command to your own subconscious mind, making it aware of your current state and your desired outcome. This is your part of the dialogue, presenting your case to the silent partner within. Then comes the divine part of the conversation, which often begins with a question. The question Jacob was asked, "What is your name?" is in Hill's terms, the universe forcing you to achieve absolute clarity. It's a call for a fearless self-analysis. Before you can receive the blueprint for your new life, you must be brutally honest about the flawed blueprint you are currently using. This act of confession is the first step in creating a new, more powerful, definite purpose. You are clearing the old data to make room for a new program. This understanding of prayer as a scientific process of alignment, of a strategic conversation with the source of all power, is the key to unlocking its true potential in your life. If you are ready to master this divine science of conversation and apply it to achieve your own goals, make sure you are subscribed to this channel, as this is the deep work we focus on. Once you have answered the question with honesty, once you have achieved clarity, you become receptive to the answer. And where does this answer, this new identity, this new name come from? It comes through the faculty that Hill called the creative imagination. He described this as the receiving set of the brain. It is the antenna that picks up the broadcasts from infinite intelligence. The new name, the inspired idea, the new self-concept that feels like it came from beyond you, is the data being downloaded from the universal mind into yours. So, the process is perfect. You use auto-suggestion to speak your truth and your desire. Infinite intelligence through your higher self pushes you to find clarity. And once that clarity is achieved, the creative imagination receives the new plan, the new identity, the blessing. Talking with God, therefore, is not a passive, mystical hope. It is a scientific process of creation. It is the act of aligning your finite mind with the infinite to receive a new set of instructions that will, when followed, create a new reality. Jacob's transformation was not a random act of favor. It was the result of his willingness to engage in this profound, two-way creative process. Now we have the blueprint from the Bible and the science from Napoleon Hill. But what does this conversation look like in practice? What are the exact steps you can take tonight to begin your own life-changing conversation? For that, we need a practical guide. We have established the what and the why. We know that a true conversation with God is a dialogue of identity exchange, and we understand the scientific principles of the mind that make this process work. Now we arrive at the most important part of our journey, the how. This is your practical step-by-step guide to engaging in your own life-changing conversation. This is not a theory. It is a manual for a nightly practice that has the power to reshape your reality. Step 1. Set the agenda. Define your blessing. You would never walk into a board meeting with the CEO of a major corporation without a clear agenda. Show the same respect for this, the most important meeting of your life. Before you begin, get clear on what you are fighting for. What is the blessing you refuse to live without? This is your definite purpose. Take a piece of paper and write it down. Don't create a long list of wants. Focus on the one central transformation you are seeking right now. Is it freedom from debt? Is it the successful launch of your business? Is it a new identity as a confident and powerful creator? Like Jacob, you must know what blessing you are wrestling for. This clarity is the price of admission to a productive conversation. Step 2. Speak your truth. Present your case. With your agenda clear, find a place of solitude where you will not be disturbed. This is where you initiate the dialogue. This is your act of auto-suggestion. You must speak, preferably aloud, to verbalize your intention and your current reality. First, state your purpose with passion. This is the blessing I seek. This is the new reality I am committed to creating. Then do what Jacob did. Answer the question before it is even asked. Confess your name, speak your truth. And this is who I am now. This is my Jacob identity. I have been a person of fear. I have been a person of doubt. I have been the deceiver of my own potential. This act of radical honesty creates the vulnerability necessary for a true connection. You are showing up authentically with nothing to hide. Step 3, listen for the question, cultivate receptivity. This is the step that transforms the monologue into a dialogue. After you have spoken your truth, you must be silent. This is the moment of listening. You're not waiting for a booming voice from the clouds. You are listening for the response of infinite intelligence as it reflects back through your own higher consciousness. And as we learned from Jacob, the response is often not an answer, but a question. As you sit in the silence, a question will begin to form in your mind. It will be a question that is perfectly tailored to your situation. It might be, who do you need to become to receive this blessing? What old habit must you let go of? Are you truly ready for the responsibility that comes with this success? This question is the voice of infinite intelligence, your senior partner, guiding you toward the internal shift that is required before the external manifestation can occur. This is your "what is your name?" moment. Do not be afraid of it. It is the key to your breakthrough. Step 4, answer with action, your new commitment. The conversation is not complete until you answer the question you have just received. And your answer is not given in words. Your answer is a new decision, a new commitment demonstrated by a new action. If the question was, who do you need to become? Your answer is to, the very next day, take one small action that the new you would take. If the question was, what must you let go of? And your answer is the act of finally letting it go. This action is your applied faith. It is the physical proof that you have heard the guidance and have accepted the terms of your transformation. It is the moment you stop being Jacob and start the process of living as Israel. The conversation changes your mind, but it is your action that changes your life. Define your blessing. Speak your truth. Listen for the question and answer with action. This is the 4-step process. This is how you talk with God. When you make this conversation a regular practice, you stop being a passive victim of your life and become an active co-creator of your destiny. The inevitable result is not just a solution to your problem, but a new and more powerful identity. As the sun rises over Peniel, the long night of wrestling is over. The divine conversation has concluded, and Jacob, the man who entered the darkness full of fear, emerges into the light of a new dawn. But he does not emerge unchanged. The results of his dialogue are twofold, and they represent the two sides of any true transformation: a glorious prize and a permanent price. The prize is a new name, a new identity. He's no longer Jacob, the deceiver. He is now Israel, a prince who has power with God and with men. This is the ultimate blessing. The conversation did not just solve his immediate problem. It upgraded his entire being. He now has a new self-concept, an identity forged in the fires of a divine encounter. When you make this 4-step conversation a regular practice, this is the prize you receive. You stop being defined by your past failures or your current limitations. You receive a new name, a new identity as a conscious creator, a partner with the infinite, a master of your own mind. But this prize comes with a price. The scripture tells us that as he left Peniel, Jacob was limping. The struggle left a permanent mark on him. This limp is not a sign of defeat. It is the mark of his victory. It is his scar, a constant physical reminder that his new strength was born from a moment of profound struggle and surrender. It is the price of his transformation. Napoleon Hill taught that there is no such thing as something for nothing. For every great blessing, a price must be paid. The price for your new identity is the willingness to let go of your old one. It is the courage to confront your Jacob self and to allow it to be broken so that your Israel self can emerge. The process may leave you with a limp, a sense of humility, a memory of the struggle, But this is what makes your new strength authentic and keeps you connected to its source. And what is the final, tangible result of this new identity? As Jacob, now Israel, goes forward, he finally meets his brother Esau. The confrontation he had feared, the battle that had consumed him with terror, does not happen. Instead, the scripture says Esau ran to meet him, embraced him, and they wept. The feared enemy became a reconciled brother. This is the ultimate secret. When you change your internal identity through a true conversation with God, your external reality rearranges itself to match your new state of being. The problems you were wrestling with often dissolve or transform, not because you fought them with more force, but because you are no longer the person for whom that problem can exist. You have ascended to a new level of consciousness, and the old battles become irrelevant. This is the ultimate promise of learning to truly talk with God. It is a path to receiving a new name and a new destiny. This is the highest form of creation. If you are ready to have your own life-changing conversation and step into the new identity that is waiting for you, then seal your commitment to this journey by making sure you are subscribed to our channel. You can continue to send one-way prayers into the void, hoping that your circumstances will magically change. Or you can have the courage to step onto your own penniel, to stop just talking at God and to start talking with Him, to ask the hard questions, to confess your old name, and to receive the new identity that is your birthright. Stop praying for your life to change. Start having the conversation that will change you. A new dawn is waiting.